Who is the best player on Georgia's 2025 roster? That's what we're going to talk about today. And I think it's an interesting conversation because it's up for debate. 100%. I don't think we really know who the best player on the roster is. Now, last year was a little different, right? We went into the season knowing that, at least defensively, Mykel Williams, Malachi Starks, and Jalen Walker were the three best players on that side of the football. On offense, I think you went, Carson Beck, Trevor Etienne, and then it was up for debate after that. But all five of those guys are gone. So now you look at the roster and you're trying to figure out, okay, this is the best player on the team. And there's a lot of options out there. So let's dig into it. Now, we're going to start on offense first, right? Because that's the most fun. And Georgia needs dynamic playmakers on offense. And that leads me to think that maybe their incoming wide receiver, Zachariah Branch, could be the best player on the team. I mean, he was a five-star for a reason. He's got elite speed. He's explosive, but he runs hard too. He's kind of a slippery guy after the catch. He can sneak through tackles, but he runs hard for a guy his size, and he's someone who can score from anywhere on the field. And I know that kind of sounds silly when you look and see he only had one touchdown last year. I expect that number to increase in a big way. But I think you can make the case for him because of his ability to be explosive. He's a sure-handed guy. He makes some tough catches for, a smaller, speedy, more explosive back. But he can help you, or receiver, but he can help you in the special teams game as well. He's an outstanding returner. You can put him back there returning kicks, punts, but you can use him in a lot of different ways. You can put him in the slot. You can put him in the backfield, end around, reverses. You can do a lot with this guy because of his skill set. I think he's a tremendous football player. I think it was a home run getting him out of the transfer portal. I think he's going to be an immediate help and be a guy that Gunnar Stockton is going to look to early and often this season. So wouldn't surprise me at all if a few games into the season, maybe at the midway point, maybe at the end of the year, we're looking back and saying, okay, Zachariah Branch, the transfer wide receiver that they got out of the portal from Southern Cal, that's the best player on the team. Wouldn't surprise me at all. So if that's the guy you would think, yeah, I might agree with you there. I would totally hear you out. After that, all of these guys are kind of on the same level. Because again, I don't think there's really a wrong answer here. And that's why I'd love to hear what y'all have to say in the comment section. But I think Nate Frazier has to be in the conversation. Was really good last year as a freshman. Of course, we told y'all when he committed to Georgia out of high school that this was a kid who is going to play as a freshman. He's an outstanding back. He's another guy who's just electric with the football. He's sudden. He moves at a different way, and he's 200 pounds. He can run through you, and he can break tackles, but there were a lot of times last year where you saw that quickness and that speed and that burst. And that's something that, Trevor Etienne brought as well, but it seemed like at times Nate Frazier just did it a little bit better. He was the team's leading rusher. A lot of that was because Trevor Etienne was hurt and had to miss that opening game against Clemson due to a suspension. But Nate Frazier ran for 671 yards, 8 touchdowns, the game winner against Georgia Tech. I mean, he carried the ball in some big, big moments, and I expect him to be one of the best players on the team. And he might be the most important player on the team. And I've said this before. If Roderick Robinson, who I think is an absolute tackle-breaking machine, bowling ball of a running back, if he's healthy, that is really, really important because they're going to need him. But if he's not 100%, they cannot have Nate Frazier go down. Just can't have it. So he may be the most important player on the team, at least on offense. But I think, it's up for debate that he might be the best player on the team as well. Noah Thomas, I think, is in the conversation. He's the wide receiver they got out of the portal from Texas A&M. 39 catches, 574 yards last year, 8 touchdowns. Productive. He brings big playability, size, a guy you can put out on the perimeter. Win those one-on-one battles. He can win he can be a mismatch, is what I'm trying to say, on the outside, down the sideline, vertically, down the field. I mean, he can do a lot for you, and he's done it at a high level already. So he's really productive. He's got plenty of experience, and he's a really good football player and another guy that I'd be thrilled to have if I'm Gunnar Stockton. I'm already trying to, build a chemistry with him as early as possible. So I think wouldn't surprise me at all if he ends up being the best player on the team at some point this fall. I think Oscar Delp and Lawson Lucky are good players, and I think they'll both be better next year. Not sure I'd put them in the category of best player on the team, but I think they're both really good players. And, this is going to trigger a lot of people, but I would put Gunnar Stockton in that category as well. The guy had zero help against Notre Dame. No running game. The offensive line didn't play well. Receivers dropping the ball left and right. The numbers don't indicate exactly how he played. If he continues to develop and works hard and keeps control of the starting job, he's still going to have to beat out Ryan Puglisi. I think he will be the starter. But I think if the offense can get their stuff together and the offensive line can improve and he gets more help, I think he could have a really, really strong season, and it wouldn't surprise me at all if he's the best player on the roster. I'm not saying he is right now. I'm saying he probably still deserves to be in the conversation no matter what happened against Notre Dame and Texas. That was in the past, but the kid can play. I still think he's a baller. I know a lot of y'all still think he stinks. I don't get it, but I'd still put him in the conversation. Defensively, I think Raylan Wilson could be an absolute superstar this year. He played in every game last fall, 47 tackles, 7 tackles for loss, 1.5 sacks, 6'1", 235, and he can absolutely run. But he made a lot of plays in the backfield with Jalen Walker off to the NFL, Small Munden off to the NFL. Raylan Wilson is going to be that expected starter next to C.J. Allen, who is also in the conversation. But I think Raylan Wilson is going to turn a lot of heads this year. Kid can absolutely play. I love what he brings to the table. He can blitz. He can cover. He brings a lot of speed. Again, with a powerful, muscular 235-pound build, he can run down the ball carrier. Again, makes plays in the backfield. I think he has a chance to be one of the breakout stars, not only on Georgia's roster, but across college football. Wouldn't surprise me at all if at the end of the year, we're talking about Raylan Wilson maybe being the best player on Georgia's defense and possibly on the team. Right now, I think he's going to have a good enough year to where this will be his last year, and he'll be off to the NFL. We're going to be talking about him maybe being one of the best linebackers in next year's NFL draft class. That's how high I am on Raylan Wilson. Wouldn't surprise me at all if this kid becomes the best player on the team. C.J. Allen, his partner, right? Another middle linebacker, probably should be in the conversation as well. He started 12 games last year, ranked second on the team in tackles with 76, 5 quarterback hits, 4 pass breakups, a leader, a captain, plays hard, physical, max effort guy, and another guy who runs really well at 230 plus pounds. So has no problem, bringing some physicality. He's a sure tackler, and he's only going to get better. So I'm not saying he's the best player on the team, but I think he should be in the conversation because there's a lot of guys who just aren't in the conversation. I think KJ Bolden is, though. KJ Bolden, 59 tackles last year, 2 tackles for a loss, 1 sack, 1 interception. SEC all-freshman team. Dude was thrown into the fire as a true freshman playing in the secondary and absolutely lived up to his 5-star ranking and the hype that he had coming in. He's a tremendous athlete. If you're on my team, I'd still give him reps at wide receiver. He's that athletic. He's that explosive. But he showed he's one of the best returning safeties, not only on the team, obviously, because he's going to be a returning starter, but across the SEC and maybe across college football. So even in just his second year as a sophomore, I think we're probably going to have to put KJ Bolden in the conversation of one of the best players, not only on the defense, but on the team. He is that good. I expect him to push for All-American status in 2025 in just his second year and, make his mark as one of the best safeties and overall defensive backs, maybe across college football. He's that good. I expect him to have a monster season. After that, it gets a little tricky. I don't think Dalen Everett is in the conversation of best players on the team. Daniel Harris sure isn't. Jordan Hall could be if he can stay healthy and turn into the player that they thought he could be out of high school. Still has that potential. Got to stay healthy. But I know I had high expectations for him out of high school. I thought he could be a similar type of player to Jalen Carter, which sounds crazy now, but they played very similar. I thought their high school tape was similar. Jordan Hall was just crushing dudes week after week in high school. There was a reason he was a 5-star, and I think they kind of had around the same size, the same playing style, but Jordan Hall, he's kind of been buried on the depth chart a little bit, and last year I thought would, take a step forward, and I think he was on his way to. He was just hurt. But if he can come up in year 3 as a junior and stay healthy, I think he could have a really, really strong season and then push for that type of candidate as a best player on the team type. Christian Miller, I think, is a solid, sound defensive lineman. I wouldn't say he's one of the best players on the team, though. So defensively, there's really only like 3 or 4 guys that are in the conversation. And same on the offense, right? So this is one of the years where there's no clear 3 or 4 guys. I think you could make the case for a few guys, but at the end of the day, we're going into this spring not really knowing who the best player on the team is. And I think you kind of have to pick and choose a little bit and make the case for these guys. But there's a lot of really good players. I'm not saying there's not. I'm not trying to downplay this team whatsoever. There's talent all over the place, right? You just look at the guys they're bringing in, the guys they're recruiting. I think there's a lot of guys who have the potential to have a breakout season that Georgia fans may not know a ton about. The guys who have just kind of been buried on the depth chart and haven't had their opportunity to shine. And I think a lot of those players will this fall. So maybe someone else emerges, right? But I want to hear what y'all have to say. Who do y'all think is the best player on the team? A lot of really good players, no doubt about it. Who's the best? That's what I'm asking y'all. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you over on the website.